Hello and welcome to a game of the Royal League of the Emperor Division, which is the highest division of the tournament. In the last season of the Royal League, I managed to finish second in the King Division, which at the end was enough to earn me the promotion to the highest division, the Emperor Division, which I was very happy about. And I didn't really plan on cover the season of the Royal League. But there have now been some very interesting games, so I decided to at least pick one of those games and show it to you. Also, my opponent Saru is a Chinese player, and he mentioned after the game that some players of the Chinese community would be interested in hearing my perspective of the game. So, yeah, here we are, and I will show you this game, which I think has some very interesting moments in it. So, I think a game that is definitely worth showing. And I'm playing against Saru, who has been quite successful recently and Player of the Year or in the leaderboard, which at the end, which you have seen in my last video, made Ipogi the Player of the Year. I think Saru was in 4th position in the Player of the Year rating at the end. This game is also the game between the two latest winners, or I think even the two only winners, because the tournament hasn't existed before, of the Wimbledon tournament. I won the latest edition of the Wimbledon tournament. Saru won the edition before, so we both have certainly shown that we are capable of playing two strong two-player games. And but now without further ado, we are going to take a look at this game. And as you can see, in a two-player game, it's of course always interesting to look at the cultural leaders. We have Bach and Shakespeare, also Darwin, so in H2 there's certainly some potential. There's also Marlene Dietrich and Fleming in H3, however we have no Hollywood, no internet, so not the biggest payoff in H3, but certainly that could be a direction that could be very viable. We also have some science leaders though, with Einstein, Bill Gates and Steve Jobs, as well as the spaceflight, the Red Cross is in the game. In H2 we have the Ocean Liner Service is a very strong wonder, the other ones are maybe not as great. We have Nobel as a strong economic leader, and then James Cook and James Watt maybe maybe not the leaders that you're really aiming towards unless there's a very specific situation for them in a two-player game. And then we have Silk Road and Universitas in H1, as well as the two strength wonders, Himeji Castle and Great Wall. We have no military action leader in H2, but one in H1 with Joan of Arc. Barbarossa can help with the strength. We have Columbus and Eleanor as strong transitional leaders. And then there's Leonardo for some lab and printing press energy, and Michelangelo. I'm playing in 1st position, and I think it should be correct here to take the engineering genius, because the thing is, if I take something else, for example Aristotle, which I think is the only alternative that I really need to consider here, if I take Aristotle, then Saru can just take engineering genius, and for example the Richland knows for certain then that he will get Hammurabi at the next turn, and can get Hammurabi plus either pyramids or Acropolis with the engineering genius and Richland in hand. I think that would just be way too strong, and now that I take the engineering genius, at least it means that Saru already at the drafting round has to pick Hammurabi, doesn't get any additional yellow card together with him. The thing that I have to think about is, of course, how does that continue for me? Cleopatra is then the only leader available for me, and I mean, there are some wonders coming down the road. The problem is only that pyramids will just, if Saru goes for Hammurabi, just stay in the two civil action area. So if I, for example, just go for Cleopatra, build a lab, increase my population, and don't pick a wonder, then Saru might just go for the Acropolis, and then the only wonder left for me is the Colossus, and especially with no Suez Cannon in the game, I wouldn't really be that happy about it, especially as the Colossus has also only 2 stages for Cleopatra. So that wouldn't really be ideal. If I go for Cleopatra and the Stonehenge, which will fall down to 1 civil action, maybe that could be fine, but I would be missing out on Pyramids and Acropolis again, or I am willing to take one of those for 2. But if I'm willing to take one of those for 2, then I can also take the wonder, build a mine, increase my population, which already spends my 4 civil actions. And I thought maybe the best thing for me to happen could be if Confucius is revealed. If Saru takes Hammurabi, then 5 out of the 7 cards are revealed. There's a decent chance that Confucius is one of them, and then I might be able to just go for Confucius as my leader. And with that, I at the end thought it hopefully will work out fine to take the engineering genius. instead of maybe going for Aristotle, but yeah, I think that at the end was a relatively clear choice. I expected Saru to take Hammurabi, which is also what happens here. Now I was interested to see whether Confucius will be one of the leaders revealed. And as you can see, Confucius is indeed coming down the row. So I build a mine, I will increase my population, and now the question is, of course, which wonder do I want to take? Acropolis, maybe the strongest wonder in two-player games, a bit dependent on the leaders and wonders mix. But there's also the pyramids, also a very strong wonder. I have the engineering genius, so I have maybe the potential to rush that wonder and finish it very quickly. But there are some cultural leaders in the game with Bach, Shakespeare, and Darwin, and at the end I thought that the Acropolis is maybe the stronger pick here. Maybe I could leave it to Saru. It has some small anti-synergies with Hammurabi, because with Hammurabi you sometimes want to do a revolution, but that is maybe not ideal with the Acropolis, but it's just such a powerful wonder. If the game ends up being a peaceful one, which is always a possibility in a two-player game, then the Acropolis with the additional urban building limit can just make such a big difference. So I at the end aim towards, after increasing my population, to take the Acropolis, and then at the next turn it's guaranteed that Confucius will be available for one civil action for me. Interestingly, I draw the two probably strongest colonies from H1, and there is Columbus in the game, so I was happy to see it. With the vast territory, Columbus could turn out to be a very strong leader for me. Saru goes for Hammurabi, builds a mine, increases his population. He has now some wonders that he can choose from, but as you can see, there's also a Silk Road coming down the row, which is also a very strong wonder, especially as a first wonder, especially with having the additional action from Hammurabi. So let's see if Saru is willing to take something like pyramids. But as you can see, he isn't. He takes those yellow cards. Those, of course, already will maybe give him some additional value if he goes for the Silk Road. Yeah, and so he takes those two cards, and if I should go for Confucius, then the Silk Road is even available for one civil action to him. But here, as you can see, I actually end up going for Moses, and it was not a misclick. But I think we have a very interesting situation here, where Moses is on a discard spot, while Confucius is not in the discard spot. And there are two cards that, if I should take Confucius, would be available for one civil action cheaper for Saru, and both of those cards I think would be very strong for him to have. And that is first of all the Silk Road, which we already have talked about. If I go for Confucius, that falls down to one civil action for Saru. But there's also in addition the Code of Laws. If I take Confucius, the Code of Laws falls down to two civil actions for Saru. So if I take Confucius here, then Saru can go for the Silk Road, can take the Code of Laws to get an additional action, remove that additional action from me. The Code of Laws, I think, is just an extremely important technology in a two-player game. And then he could even take the iron if he would like to, or he can just start building a lab, building some steps. He just might save him two civil actions. If I leave both of those cards on two civil actions and three civil actions, then he would need to spend all of his civil actions to take both the Silk Road and the Code of Laws. I do think that might end up being a bit too expensive for him. So with not taking Confucius, I maybe secure myself a chance to get that Code of Laws for myself and just generally make the turn of Saru quite a bit weaker. And with that, I actually ended up taking Moses here, which is a very interesting choice. I think it's very rare that both Moses and Confucius are available for one civil action for you, and you end up taking Moses. But I think it might be the correct decision here. If only one of those cards would be in the row, for example, the Code of Laws would not have been revealed and there would be just a random yellow card, then I think I would go for Confucius and just give the Silk Road a civil action cheaper for Saru. But with the situation that it is quite relevant that on both the 2 and the 3 civil action area I can let a card stay for more expensive, I think that might just at the end be enough value to justify going for maybe a significantly weaker leader than Confucius. And I mean, Moses has still some synergies with the Acropolis. I will have more population, I can maybe go for more urban buildings, get a bigger discount for a government form, so I felt like that at least has some synergy here. But a very interesting situation. At the end, as you can see, I go for Moses, I build my second lab. It is a game with Shakespeare, sometimes it can be worthwhile to maybe leave yourself open to get into printing press, but now that I have that many population with Moses and actually the potential to go for a vast territory with Columbus, I might have a lot of population and can maybe still easily get into printing presses even when I have already committed to my second lab, so I just wanted to get my science production going, especially because I was hoping that I might have a chance of getting the Code of Laws at the next turn. And then with my last civil action, I used the Engineering Genius to build a step of the Acropolis. I could have also increased my population with Moses, but I would go into consumption earlier. Saru is Hammurabi, so it's maybe not that likely that he will cede. So I was hoping that development of religion or warfare, maybe it's not that likely that those will be revealed, and so I just wanted to save up more food here. I draw 2 cards, 2 more colonies, so it's also not a likely thing to happen that the first 4 cards that you are drawing are for colonies. Saru is willing to go for the Silk Road. Let's see if he also takes the Code of Laws. And he isn't. I think it's probably the right decision. It would just be a bit too expensive. He immediately is able to play the Cultural Heritage with the Silk Road bonus for 2 science and 5 culture, so that's quite strong. And then he ends up taking the Urban Growth. And I mean, with the Silk Road, that card will probably end up giving him 2 resources when he maybe builds the second lab. Maybe he can even think about building an alchemy directly at the next turn. Leonardo is gone. Saru wasn't willing to pick up Leonardo, but nonetheless, going directly into alchemy could be interesting. He also doesn't take the iron, but if he would take the iron, the Code of Laws would fall down to 1 civil action for me, so maybe he didn't like it. And also there are 2 copies of iron in a 2-player game, so it's not necessarily important to take the first one for very expensive. Now it is my turn. I don't want to push any of those colonies yet. I end up taking the Code of Laws. I think it's just a valuable card in 2-player games, as there are not that many additional civil action sources, especially there's no Forbidden City in this game, no Saladin, so I think that Code of Laws could just end up being very important. You see that the Monarchy is coming down the road, so Saru might now get the Monarchy, but I think taking Monarchy for 3 is just too expensive for me. Now that I take the Code of Laws, I can not only take the Code of Laws, but after finishing the Acropolis to get out of corruption, I can also take the iron, saving up even more food. Still hoping that I won't miss out on any development of religion, which is a bit painful with having the Acropolis, but at the next turn I can then maybe start increasing my population a bunch of times, which maybe makes me a bit inflexible, but just going for 1 iron upgrade and increasing population 2 times might at the end be just a very fine turn. The Monarchy might be taken away by a Saru, and then at the moment there isn't any card coming down the road that I think I really need to take, so maybe it's not too bad that my next turn is a bit inflexible. I keep the vast territory and the wealthy territory, the vast territory for Columbus, the wealthy territory to maybe cede it, because I will have a lot of population with Moses. Also the knowledge, I draw the knowledge of the ancients and the defense card. Saru cedes, opens the development of science. He is willing to take the Monarchy, builds the second lab with the Urban Growth with the Silk Road bonus, increases his population, and then to get out of corruption he has to actually build a religion, which is not that ideal. Maybe he could have not used the Urban Growth to build a second lab and then maybe taken the alchemy, or I'm not sure if it was possible to take the Monarchy and build an alchemy directly. I think maybe that could have been some alternatives, but yeah, he just builds the religion here, but it feels not that ideal to me. Maybe I think it was possible to take the Monarchy, take the alchemy in hand, develop it, and build one with the Urban Growth. Maybe that could have been an interesting alternative turn here. Now it is my turn, and it's a bit risky, but I actually decide to push here the knowledge of the ancients with Saru having the Silk Road as an H1 wonder. That should hopefully be a good event for me. There's of course the chance that I might miss out on development of religion, but at this point I was willing to risk it to just get a bit of event knowledge and maybe move the deck forward a little bit. With the Acropolis I have a bit of additional strength, which maybe could be somewhat awkward for Saru as soon as the event deck has flipped, as he might need to consider to get stronger to be prepared for strength events. So I seed the event into the deck, hoping that there is no development of religion revealed. And there's indeed no development of religion revealed, instead the development of agriculture. I checked my turn, of course, before seeding, and I realized that if I get 2 additional food or resources, that I still can get out of corruption. And so I this turn go for the iron, and I just increase my population 2 times with Moses, getting out of corruption, spending all of my actions efficiently, And then at the next turn I can continue maybe going for those upgrades and just use Moses some more times to get a lot of population out. I draw Fighting Band Tactic and the New Deposits. New Deposits could be interesting with me being the player who goes into Iron first. Saru, as we can see, does a Revolution to Monarchy, gets that government form going while still having a bunch of signs saved up. Also builds a warrior to get out of corruption, and with that has the same amount of strength as I do. Columbus is coming down the row. I was interested whether I might have a chance of getting him, or whether Saru is maybe actually willing to take him away. I start my turn by seeding the New Deposits. The second copy of Iron is not in sight yet, so I was hoping that maybe it can be revealed before Saru has a chance to upgrade his Iron Mines. The Development of Settlement is revealed. Maybe not ideal for me. I have a lot of additional population anyway, but it's still maybe is a bit helpful for me to have additional population. This turn I first of all go for an Iron upgrade. There would have been an alternative to this upgrade, which we maybe can discuss at the end of the turn. And then there are some cards that I maybe could consider taking. There is a copy of Theocracy. With Saru going for Monarchy, if I don't take this Theocracy, I will be without a government form for a while, and I could be a bit dependent on the H2 government forms. There's a copy of Irrigation. It's the first one, so I might still get the second one, but it's not guaranteed. But, I mean, I have Moses. I will let Columbus stay into civil actions. I was hoping that I might have a chance to get him, especially with me having drawn that many colonies already. And if I should get Columbus with the vast territory, then I have that much population that I maybe don't need the irrigation that much. And even if I should miss out on a food solution completely, maybe I would be end up being somewhat fine. And then there's another card that I, at the end, thought is maybe the most important for me to take. There's of course also a copy of Knights. But I have a Fighting Band Tactic. There's another copy of Knights coming. I have no tactic for the Knights, so I didn't want to spend a civil action to take them, as I'm a bit tight on civil actions, with still having or still wanting to increase my population a bunch of times with Moses. And at the end I thought that, I first increased my population to get out of corruption. I thought that maybe the Printing Press is the most important card to have here. I have a lot of population, potentially I will have even more with Columbus, so I was thinking that I can actually afford to just put 2, maybe even more with the Acropolis population into the Printing Press, get a lot of science production going like that, and making sure that I have a very big discount if I get into a government form, and additionally I will nicely be prepared for Shakespeare and potentially also for Darwin, so I thought it could just be very important having a copy of the technology available. If I don't take it, there's a chance that Saru will take the second copy away, and I might miss out on the chance of fixing my science production that way. So I take it here. I could still take one of the other cards, but at the next turn I might want to take Columbus. And I also want to increase my population maybe a bunch of times, maybe start building some printing presses actually. So I thought I'm very tight on civil actions here and actually develop the printing press. However, with developing the printing press, of course you could argue that maybe instead of going for the Iron upgrade that I have done at the beginning of my turn, I maybe should have built a printing press. Maybe I'll correct, especially with the New Deposits coming. Maybe I need the science more than the additional resources. But I think the reason why I at the end was willing to go for the Iron upgrade first is that now I have actually 6 resources available instead of 5, meaning thanks to getting that one additional resource already now, I have enough resources to maybe build 2 printing presses at the next turn, or maybe build 1 and go for an Iron upgrade. I just get my things built going quicker. And so I thought maybe because of that it is still worthwhile to go for the Iron upgrade first, but maybe I'm incorrect. Maybe I should just go for the printing press and get the science production as early as possible, and maybe delay the mines. But especially if Saru seeds, then maybe there's a chance that the New Deposits could be revealed before I get even my second Iron upgrade going, and that could be a bit bad. So at the end I thought it could be fine to just go for the upgrade now, and then maybe the next turn just start building 2 printing presses. I actually discard my tactic, as there are no swordsmen left anyway. I mean, I could have revealed it, I guess. There's no Shishka in the game that Saru maybe could end up taking. Not sure why I revealed it. Maybe I wanted to draw potentially some more events to see it. I'm actually not certain. I could have maybe revealed it, but maybe it's also fine to discard it, I guess. Maybe I wanted to have a higher chance to draw Knights tactic in case I get the second copy of Knights, but I'm not certain. Saru seeds, so the event deck is flipped now. We both have seeded 2 events. The development of Civil Life is revealed, which Saru will use to increase his population. He takes the irrigation, takes the breakthrough. I was interested to see whether he will go for Columbus. He develops the irrigation, goes for an upgrade, could still take Columbus, but he goes for another upgrade, reveals his own fighting bad tactic, is now actually the strongest, and then ends his turn. Interestingly, I think he didn't use Hammurabi this turn. Could have maybe built a step off the Silk Road. I guess he is eyeing the Masonry that is coming down the row. I think I'm really not in a position to take that away for 2 civil actions. It could still end up being a strong card for myself, but with that, building that step doesn't really do a lot, and if Saru thinks he has a good chance of actually getting this Masonry, then maybe just getting an additional draw is worth more than spending that civil action. Now it's my turn. I don't really want to push the Dark Ages here, as I maybe it could happen that I can't spend my science on a government form quickly, and I want to be in a position where I can just save up a lot of science. I was actually happy that I have knowledge about the Dark Ages here. And with Saru not having taken Columbus, and with me having the vast territory and it already being late in H1, I think Columbus is just too strong to pass up on him here. I take Columbus. I increase my population one more time with Moses. As you can see, interestingly, I used the development of Civil Life to increase my population here for 1 food. I could have, for example, also just built an additional printing press, save a resource like that, and then increase my population with Moses 2 times, instead of spending the civil action to build a printing press, and then I would go down to 0 food exactly. The thing is, of course, that I will get Columbus and get the vast territory soon. I will also lose 2 yellow tokens to the end of the age soon, meaning I will lose those 2 yellow tokens. Then I will get 3 yellow tokens back with the vast territory, but it would still mean that I'm still already in this part of the yellow bank, meaning I would actually need 4 more food to get 1 more population out. So with using the development of Civil Life to increase my population, I make sure that after getting the food from the vast territory, I have enough to get 1 more population out. That makes it that I don't end up being stuck on 3 food, which could cause some corruption issues, and that I of course have an additional population to work with. So I increase my population 1 more time using Moses again. So you can see Moses has really made it that I have a lot of population now that I can use to put into those printing presses. So I think he has done something useful for me. And with the vast territory, I will have soon even more population to work with. So I elect Columbus. And in this turn, I prioritized indeed to just build those 2 printing presses. I get a lot of science production going, and I think that is indeed more valuable. Of course, there could be the new deposits revealed if I don't get the iron upgrade going this turn. There's certainly a chance that I miss out on 2 resources, but the new deposits also means that I have actually a lot of resources to work with, and I'm being at the moment still in 4, soon in 5 civil actions, might struggle a little bit to spend those resources. So I felt like here it might be better to just invest into those 2 printing presses, going up to 3 culture production. I keep the vast territory for Columbus plus a defense card, drawing another defense card. Saru seeds, and he opens the Reign of Terror. So he actually put a strength event in there, interestingly. I will lose the population, which, to be honest, in this situation doesn't do any immediate damage to me. Long term, of course, I could at some point still miss that population. Saru gets the Masonry. I think there was just not really a good way for me to take that away. I think Columbus was too strong for me with the vast territory and getting the printing presses going, getting out of corruption. I think the Masonry is quite a powerful technology, especially in 2-player games, especially with Saru being able to use it in the Silk Road immediately with not having upgraded any urban buildings yet. I think it's a very, very strong technology for him. And maybe I should have considered denying it, but at the end it felt just a bit too expensive for me. So I let Saru have it. He develops it, can finish the Silk Road, takes Eleanor, elects Eleanor. She is also, same as Columbus, a nice transitional leader. With taking those 2 cards, the age will now also actually end already. And then Saru takes the patriotism, interestingly. And now it is my turn. I can't easily... I could maybe keep the vast territory in hand and draw more cards, but I don't have that many draws, and if I use it now, I can keep both defense cards in hand. Maybe Saru has seeded a colony in there, so I just used Columbus immediately. I think also to be able to use my actions efficiently, I this turn upgrade my mine so that I'm prepared for the new deposits. Also, I thought it could be interesting to seed at the next turn potentially, because what I will actually do this turn is, after increasing my population to get out of corruption, you sadly see that my thinking about using Moses for the development of civil life now hasn't worked out as well, because I actually got now back into that part of the Yellow Bank because of the Reign of Terror, but still not too bad. And then for my last two civil actions, first of all, I will of course develop the Code of Laws, and I go for the Universitas. I think I just have some resource that I want to invest into. I still need a government form. Having a lot of science, I think, is quite strong. And I thought there could be a decent chance that I can finish the Universitas already at the next turn, because the thing is, my two events that I've seeded are the new deposits and the knowledge of the ancients. Both of those events would give me the necessary resources to finish the Universitas at the next turn. I still considered building a step instead of building the going for the iron upgrade, making it that I can finish it while having maybe more civil actions left. For example, there could be a government form on the row on 3 civil actions. Maybe I don't know, the ocean liner service drops. I guess that would be taken away by Saru immediately, but maybe at least he has to take it away instead of being able to let it slide down further the row and get it for cheaper at his next turn. So I think there are some arguments towards building the step, but at the end, with the new deposits in there, I at the end just went for the iron upgrade. And yeah, so I don't take the engineering genius here, because I think with the new deposits coming, I have more than enough resources to work with. I let the knight stay on 2 and the iron on 3 civil actions, so that works out quite well. I don't draw an event, so I won't be able to push it my next turn, but I have already a tactic that I potentially can use. Saru, interestingly, doesn't seed. Maybe he doesn't have a fitting event with Eleanor. He goes for the alchemy. Also a bit interesting. There would have been also a printing press here for him. But maybe he isn't confident enough yet in his amount of population. Still, it's interesting. Could have been maybe beneficial for him to be set up for Shakespeare, but for now he just wants to go for the more economical play and maybe save his population for potential other projects. Maybe he also wanted to let the irrigation stay on 2 civil actions, which is a card that I might still want to have. Sadly, with Saru not seeding and me not drawing an event, I can't push, meaning I can't finish the Universitas this turn, which is a little bit annoying, but that was of course a possibility what could happen. And this turn, which it is somewhat funny, because for the second time in this game, we have a situation, like the situation where I went for Moses, that there are 2 cards, 2 extremely valuable cards, on the 2 civil action and the 3 civil action area that I think are extremely important for me to let them stay on expensive for Saru. And in this situation, potentially maybe even more important than with the Silk Road and the Code of Laws, because the ocean liner service with Saru having the masonry is just insanely strong, and also a card that Saru certainly doesn't want to see in my hands. So I think it's a card that he really would like to take. But he is also in monarchy, and maybe doesn't want to be stuck on 5 civil actions for long. But if he doesn't take the justice system, that will be discarded. So he and if I let the justice system stay here and the ocean liner service stay here, then he is missing 1 civil action to take both of those cards. So he can't take both, even if he would be willing to invest all of his civil actions. It's not a possibility. So if I don't take any cards from the road this turn, I make it that he has to make a choice here between the justice system and the ocean liner service. And if he should decide for the justice system, that would actually mean that I would get the ocean liner service, which would end up being which could end up being an extremely strong wonder for me. But same as with going for Moses instead of Confucius, it leads to me having a somewhat awkward turn. As I can't take any card really that isn't on a discard spot. So I start my turn by building 2 steps of the Universitas, and then I have still 3 civil actions left, and I really thought about what do I do with those civil actions? Maybe I do just take some cards, but I really felt like if I take some cards, for example, just some yellows or maybe the irrigation, then Saru has just such a clean turn. He gets the justice system for 1, can take it, develop it, gets out of corruption, has still 4 civil actions left, and with those he can take the ocean liner service and the iron. That's another card that maybe he would kind of like to have. That is harder for him to take if I let those cards stay on more expensive. So I think he is just an extremely clean turn, and if I let those stay on the more expensive side, he has really some difficulties. So I think even if it's awkward for me, I kind of have to do it here, especially because I can't deny the ocean liner service. And yeah, so I just thought about how can I spend those actions. I built 2 steps in Universitas, and as you can see, I have 2 resources left over. I still have a free population, and I actually decide here to build an additional mine. I'm not 100% sure if building the mine here is correct, or if I maybe should just go for an additional farm. The thing is, the farm would take quite a while to pay off. I would just accumulate some food. Maybe that would lead to some corruption issues, and at some point I will get an additional population. There's at least a chance that Saru maybe doesn't go for the ocean liner service, especially with him being on low resources. And so, yeah, at the end I thought also with the new deposits coming that I will go for the mine instead, which the resources hopefully I will be able to use somehow. And yeah, so I build the mine, I take the knights, and then I actually float 1 civil action because I can neither take the printing press nor Michelangelo, nor can I do anything on my civilization. I could develop the knights, but I want to be open to a government form here. So I do a somewhat awkward turn, but I think it is worthwhile here to let both of those cards stay available on the more expensive side for Saru. I keep the tactic and a colonization card, draw the infiltrate in the Cold War. Saru starts sieging. The raiders are revealed, so actually another strength event. That one is maybe not too bad for me. And of course I was interested to see how Saru will decide, and he decides to pass in the justice system, take the ocean liner. Now it will of course be interesting to see, is he willing to pass in the iron here, or does he want to secure that copy? And it is a late one, there's at least 1 copy of coal, and I think he does the right decision here of just upgrading that, get more science production, get out of corruption easily, and just pass in the iron here. But he misses out on a justice system, will be stuck on 5 civil actions, he misses out on the iron, might be stuck on bronze mines, so he gets the ocean liner service, but I thought he does miss out on some stuff which could maybe end up being a bit annoying for him. Now it is my turn. I, especially with at this point not knowing whether I will get a copy of selective breeding, which will be the last remaining way for me to get more population income, and with not knowing whether I will be able to get it, I was not willing to push the Cold War into the deck. There's no government form in a row yet. I can this turn complete the Universitas, going up to 6 science production. And then the question is what to do. There are some yellow cards that I could take. There's a copy of cannons, which I could maybe secure for myself. But just taking a bunch of cards just didn't feel that great. At the end, I actually decided to take the rifleman here, because I have that Napoleonic army tactic. Saru hasn't secured himself a copy of swordsman, so with having that in hand, I just make sure that I am better prepared for the military, either maybe allowing myself to go for a bit of a military push in case I need to, but also in case with having those printing presses I'm prepared for Shakespeare. Maybe I am in a position to just run away with the culture, and then having the rifleman potentially with this tactic could just be enough to defend myself. So it's a bit expensive, and sometimes in 2-player games, despite not having a swordsman, it can just be fine to let it fall down the row. But with having the tactic, and with, for both of us actually, maybe the revolutionary idea being not that important, I guess the patriotism could be a valuable card for Saru, but I just didn't feel too great to take a lot of yellow cards in my hand here, and at the end I rather just wanted to have the technology available. I have still 1 civil action left. I could still take one of those yellow cards, but all of those didn't feel too great for me. Maybe I could take the wave, maybe I could take the patriotism away from Saru, which could potentially also give me some more aggressive potential in case I get the right cards. But at the end I actually decide to upgrade this iron mine. Maybe a bit questionable, because it could still be viable for me to at some point delete this bronze mine again. But on the other hand, with the new deposits coming, that gives me, as it is very likely revealed soon, 2 additional resources immediately if it is revealed before my next turn, and I thought maybe that could still be worthwhile. I might want to invest into operas. Maybe the Eiffel Tower is gone, but the ocean liner service is gone, but I could maybe still go for something like Eiffel Tower. Maybe I can go into scientific methods at the next turn. So I was hoping that I find a way to spend those resources, and hopefully I will even now have enough population to work with. I keep an event to seed and a Napoleonic army. I draw some more events to seed. I was willing to discard a defense card, as I know that the next 2 events are no colonies. Saru seeds opens the knowledge of the ancients, which gives him 1 additional resource and 1 additional science. I get 3 additional science. Saru takes the cannons, builds 2 steps with the ocean liner service for 1 civil action with the masonry, increases his population, takes the efficient upgrade, uses the urban growth to build a religion for free. Maybe is a little bit afraid of a rebellion, but I guess not, because I have also a lot of unhappy workers. Maybe just wants to get rid of that card and get a bit of additional culture production going. If he should end up getting Bach, he might be able to upgrade those religions to opera, and yeah, with that he ends his turn. He could have denied the constitutional monarchy for me, maybe could have even developed it with the amount of science, but that would be quite expensive, and there could just be a republic revealed for me soon, so probably something that maybe he should consider, but I think it might end up being a fine decision to just not take it here. I still nonetheless was of course quite happy to have a chance to get into that conmon. I don't push here. Immigration, I'm not that nicely prepared for freedom of movement. I didn't know. I mean, I can always turn a lab into a printing press, I guess, but I think if I reveal the new deposits now, I will actually just have corruption if I remember my situation correctly. So at the end, I was against ceding any of those cards. I take the constitutional monarchy. Potentially, I could think about building an additional urban building before developing it, but with the turn that I end up going for, I just might not have the civil action for it, because after developing the constitutional monarchy, I have to think about whether I should take Bach here. I'm, of course, in a position that I'm nicely prepared not only for Bach, but also for Shakespeare and potentially for Darwin. So I think just looking at my own civilization, it's not the most important to take Bach here. But Saru doesn't have a copy of Printing Press. He went for the alchemy earlier on, meaning if I take Bach away, then, especially if I should maybe have a chance to deny the journalism, neither Shakespeare nor Darwin could maybe end up being very strong for Saru. Additionally, even if Saru manages to maybe set up for those leaders, there's a chance that those could be very late, and with having Eleanor, he really needs to make sure that he replaces her in time. It's not really an option to maybe lose her to the end of the age, or it would at least be very costly. Another reason why I thought I might want to take Bach away, and also Saru has already built 2 religions, and with not getting Bach, maybe it could be a bit annoying for him. I mean, he can still go into organized religions, or those at least still produce a bit of culture, it's not too bad, but if he should get Bach, he has an efficient upgrade, he could upgrade his religions to opera, and it could be quite efficient for him. And with all of that, I at the end thought it's maybe best for me to just take Bach and just elect him, getting a bit of additional culture reduction, having spent those civil actions already, and then I thought that maybe at the next turn I could go into opera, might be quite likely so that Saru denies it, and then it depends on whether there's maybe a second copy of opera, and as I said, Eiffel Tower, or if I get enough happy faces, maybe Kremlin, maybe even the Louvre in the situation, could be viable for me with the amount of resource production that I'm having. I also might have a chance to get the architecture with the amount of science that I'm having, which could help me to build those wonders efficiently, so I thought that might be ways for me to spend my civil actions. I pass on the scientific method here, but I just think I have more than enough science production. Could help me to invest some resources, also maybe the organized religion, but there's still another copy and a copy of team sports left, so I just wanted to elect Bach and get the additional cultural production. I draw 2 aggressions in the Conquistadors, not the most exciting draw. Saru seeds, opens 2 new deposits. I gain quite a bunch of more resources than him, but still for him the 3 resources are probably quite valuable. This turn he finishes the ocean liner service, plays the patriotism with the Silk Road bonus, develops the cannon, builds 1, so he makes sure to get a little bit stronger. Could be an indicator that there are some strength events coming. The top event, the 1H1 event, could maybe be a strength event. He then takes the rich land and also the opera, makes sure that they can't invest into that immediately, and with the second copy not being on the row, I think that could be a very important decision by him. Now it is my turn. I don't push. I need to invest my resources somehow. I actually won't be able at the end to get fully out of corruption, but I at least don't want to have 4 corruption. The Eiffel Tower is on the row, too expensive here on the row, and at the end I actually decided to just invest into Rifleman, and with building one and upgrading one I actually can get stronger than Saru. And maybe it gets a bit awkward if that is actually a strength event and he maybe can't push with Eleanor, or he does decide to push, but then the strength event gets revealed. If he doesn't push and gets stronger, it is some big information that he gives me that actually that it is actually a strength event that is maybe worth fighting for, so it felt at least somewhat fine to invest into the Rifleman here. So I build one, I upgrade one, at least have only 2 corruption like this. Then I think I actually copy the fighting ban tactic here. Journalism is not on the row yet, so it could be that maybe Saru still and will end up going for Shakespeare or Darwin, but it could be a bit difficult to pull off those leaders for him. I mean, Darwin with the 2 religions is quite annoying anyway, and then with him being on low resources, it could be a bit expensive for him to go into Shakespeare. So I thought maybe Saru will actually consider to just go for Nobel at his turn. And I thought copying this fighting ban tactic and getting the 1 additional strength could actually be quite viable, because if Saru goes for Nobel, he goes up to 8 strength, but it isn't, because of copying the tactic, not enough to get stronger than me. So if he wants to get stronger, he might need to invest some resources into a warrior. It could happen that he just gets navigation or strategy that could help him, but at least he would need to take those cards for expensive then. So I copy the fighting ban tactic despite me missing out on a lot of draws. At least I will have a tactic to work with. I take the architecture, I develop the architecture, because I thought at the next turn it could be strong to just take and finish the Eiffel Tower. I don't know whether I get a second copy of Opera already, but I know that the Eiffel Tower will be available for me. I don't think Saru can take it away. It would be way too expensive for him. And if he takes it away, maybe there's a chance the Louvre could be revealed, or maybe the second copy of Opera is revealed and I can just invest into that. So I developed the architecture already to be prepared for that. And then I take the cavalryman. I think it's just nice not committing to the knights. I have more than enough resources to invest into cavalryman instead of knights, and it just opens myself up for H3 tactics, which potentially could be relevant. And I take the right copy because Saru hasn't taken a copy of Cavalryman yet. Of course, with him investing into cannons, it's certainly possible that he has drawn the fortifications tactic, but it's still only 1 copy. Maybe he has the mobile artillery. It also makes it that he can't copy an outdated Napoleonic army or something, so I felt there's just a chance that he might need it for some tactics, and it could be worthwhile to deny it from him. Then for the last 3 civil actions, I'm actually not sure if I did the right call here. Maybe I should just take some yellow cards, the breakthrough, maybe the efficient upgrade, or just take the breakthrough and maybe build a religion that I then can upgrade to opera later on with Bach. Maybe I should just do something like this. Maybe if I take one of those yellow cards, I should instead take the left copy of Cavalryman to let Shakespeare stay in 2, but as said, maybe Saru doesn't even plan to go for Shakespeare here. But what I actually decide to do here is to deny the coal. And I'm not sure if it is the correct choice here. I do think it's viable in this situation, and maybe more viable than in other situations in a 2-player game. Because usually I think it's not really worth it to deny the coal, unless it's very early, but here we are already quite late in the age. But there are some considerations here. First of all, Saru has an efficient upgrade and a rich land in hand. So I think he would be able to upgrade to coal very efficiently. And he would be able to upgrade to coal already at the next turn. So I do think with having those 2 yellow cards already in hand, that makes maybe the coal denial more viable. He might still end up might still maybe find a way to use those cards, maybe the efficient upgrade to upgrade a religion to organized religion, but with the masonry he won't be able to use the Silk Road bonus at least. But the rich land, maybe he can build an additional mine, maybe an additional farm. I guess he could somehow use it, but certainly not as efficiently as if he could upgrade to coal. Additionally, at least for now, Saru is in low civil actions. So normally, ideally, when you are on bronze mines, you want to play with a lot of civil actions to be able to take a lot of yellow cards. And I mean, he has also the Silk Road to help him. But maybe with being in low civil actions, having a bit of resource production could be beneficial for him, as he maybe won't be in a position to take that many yellow cards. That being said, he has a lot of science saved up, so he might be able to get into an H3 government form, and then he will have a lot of civil actions, so that could certainly happen. And it is quite expensive to take it away for 3. But I mean, the alternatives, what I could do here, I guess I could take the breakthrough, I guess I could build a religion, but I then have to spend another civil action to upgrade it to opera. Maybe soon I can just build an opera directly, so it will just produce me 1 or 2 extra culture, probably not more. It doesn't save me a civil action or something. And maybe the alternatives are just not that great, and maybe the coal denial is the correct choice here because of those yellow cards. But still, it's quite late, and I'm not sure. Maybe I should just take breakthrough. Some additional science is always useful, and maybe the efficient upgrades, or maybe build a religion nonetheless. So here I'm really not certain if that is the right call here. Now it's Saru's turn. I was interested to see whether he's willing to seed. He is willing to seed, so let's see if it is a strength event or if he maybe built the cannon for a different purpose. It is no strength event, instead a scientific breakthrough, so even more science for both of us. And as you can see, Saru is not going for Shakespeare, he is just going for Nobel. Maybe if sees that it could end up being difficult for him to set up for both opera and journalism, doesn't know yet whether he gets the journalism. I could just deny the card, so instead he goes for Nobel, who is available for cheaper, who gives him some value guaranteed. Maybe he is in a position to score some Nobel prizes later on, takes those 2 yellow cards, so I've denied the coal, but have left him those yellow cards, and then he has now a lot of population. And interestingly, as you can see, he is actually building a warrior here, which feels somewhat inefficient for him. Maybe he would rather like to commit more into cannons, so that is really an indicator that there are actually some bad strength events coming. And with that, I think I didn't see it now at my turn. There's a copy of Opera available, but it is quite expensive. I have just that many resources to spend. I have the architecture, and actually the additional happy face from the Eiffel Tower I think is quite helpful for me here. And with that, I thought I should just go for the Eiffel Tower. I will take it, I will finish it, and then with my remaining 3 civil actions, I decided to go for the strategy here. Because the thing is, Saru has more than enough science to work with. Ideally, with having Bach, I soon just want to build a bunch of operas, and I soon might be in a position, I'm behind in culture for now, but soon I might be in a position to just run away with the culture production, with Saru having committed to Nobel. And if I let the strategy be available for Saru, he just gets more strength, maybe can always threaten to get into fortifications, maybe has some other tactics to potentially work with. And I always need to be quite careful. I am low in population, the selective breeding hasn't shown yet, which could end up being a bit of an issue for me, so I just felt it might be worthwhile for me to take the strategy, especially because I myself have more than enough science to just develop it. Now I still have corruption, but I can fix that by actually building another rifleman. That makes it that I'm now at 11 strength. Saru just indicated that there could very well be some strength events coming. Now I maybe force him to again do some investments into the strength to get stronger again. And it also just makes it that I get out of corruption. It leaves me with some uprising issues at the next turn, but I will be able to get opera. I will be able to upgrade a lab to opera. I have more than enough science anyway, and with that, thanks to Bach, I should hopefully be able to fix those happy face issues at the next turn. I draw some cards here, some more events that I could push. H3 starts, I discard the knights, but I have the cavalryman in hand. Saru plays the reserves with the Silk Road bonus, builds a cannon, that makes him stronger, so again an indicator that there are some strength events coming. He develops the navigation, maybe there could also be a colony coming, is now at 14 strength, uses the ocean liner service to again get another population, and then just takes the urban growth, as I guess he can just use as many additional resources as possible. As you can see, he doesn't deny the selective breeding here. I do think it's maybe the correct choice, because as we will see, I actually don't go for it very quickly, so I think maybe I could have been even somewhat fine without the selective breeding here. I start going for the opera here, because I it's just the most efficient way for me to fix my uprising issue, I think, to upgrade a lab to opera with Bach. So I think I kinda need to do this. After doing this, I have still 4 civil actions left. There are some interesting cards from H3 coming down the row. There's Marlene Dietrich, who is of course a very strong leader for me, with having gone into opera. For Saru, maybe not as strong for now, but he has a copy of opera in hand, so he certainly could make use out of her. There's also a copy of Fundamentalism, in case Saru plans on maybe applying some pressure on me. The Fundamentalism could be a very helpful card for me. He has more than enough science to just go into it, so maybe I could consider taking it. But the thing is, for my Napoleonic army tactic, I still need the cannons, and it could still end up being a bit annoying for me if I miss out on the selective breeding, because soon I will be out of population and might need to start destroying some mines. So if I maybe at the next turn start going for 2 upgrades, I do think the selective breeding could still end up being very important for me. And with that, I decided to take the cannons, take the selective breeding, leaving me with 1 civil action. I still have corruption, and so I thought it is just very strong for me to just build another opera, going up to 18 culture production, and now really quickly I will overtake Saru with the culture. I remain weaker though, so I could get hit by a strength event. So I draw 3 impacts immediately. Saru seeds. And as we can see, there is actually a bad strength event, the Independence Declaration. I will lose 3 yellow tokens, and it will be annoying for me, because it will immediately cause some famine issues. It will make it a lot harder for me to get more population out before that is evaluated. As you can see, I could just go for 2 selective breeding upgrades, then at the following turn immediately get a population out, at the turn after immediately get another population out, but now it not only if I have famine issues, but also it will actually take quite a while, even if I go for 2 upgrades, to get a reasonable amount of population out. So I think that is actually quite a bit of a setback here. Saru is willing, as you can see, to go for the Fundamentalism, develops it, builds the 3rd lab with the urban growth with the Silk Road bonus, builds an additional cannon, is now at 23 strength, is applying some pressure here, takes an urban growth, and even takes another urban growth, just wants to have a lot of additional resources to work with. As you can see, there is some interesting stuff coming down the row. There's Bill Gates and computers. Maybe that could be an interesting combination. He isn't willing to take Marlene here, so she will be available for me in case I want to go for her. Now it is my turn. I won't get stronger anyway. I have some reasonable cards to seed. I actually seed the freedom of movement here because Saru is applying some military pressure, and for the Napoleonic army tactic I don't really need 3 riflemen, so I thought it could be beneficial for me, maybe being able to put a rifleman into a different military unit, or maybe just even moving an iron into military in case I really need it. Saru reveals a wealthy territory. As you can see, I bid 5, and I bid 5 just so that it looks like I have an H2 defense card in hand, because at the end of my turn you will be able to see that I am actually vulnerable to an aggression. So I think it's extremely important here to make a bid that at least makes it look like I maybe have a defense card. I could have also bid 6, but I think I really don't want to win this territory, so I just felt a bit safer with bidding 5. On the other hand, it would be ideal if maybe Saru doesn't get this colony for just a warrior. I think that would be extremely strong, so maybe I should push him a bit higher, but if I win it at the end, it could just backfire quite heavily. He's already applying some pressure. I'm low in population, so that could be quite bad. And so I only bid 5, and at least it makes it look like I have an H2 defense card in hand, as it's not an amount that I would bid when I maybe send 2 riflemen away. At the end, Saru is able to win it, and sadly he does indeed get it for just a warrior, getting 9 additional resources. I thought that might be quite a game changer for him, going from 3 to 12 resources here. It's my turn. I upgrade another lab to opera with Bach. I kinda need to do this again to not have an uprising issue after having lost the 3 yellow tokens from the vast territory. And yeah, then there's a bunch of cards in the row. I, as you can see, will end up going for Marlene. We have to maybe at the end of the turn discuss Bill Gates, who is of course doing basically nothing for myself. I mean, I could take computers, but I do think it's not worthwhile. If I take him, then it would be a denial from Saru. But again, Marlene Dietrich with the operas will just be a strong leader, especially because she helps me with the military. So I didn't consider going for Bill Gates as much, also because there are already only 27 cards left in the deck. I felt like Saru might be able to do some stuff with him, but I thought maybe it is already a bit too late to make some really crazy stuff. But then again, he has 2 Elven Growths. One of them he will be able to use with the Silk Road bonus, so he can get into computers very cheaply, very quickly, very efficiently. Will be able to score Nobel Prizes, will have a lot of resources to work with. So maybe I should deny him here, then the next leader might be late. But Marlene Dietrich could just be so valuable for me to help defending myself, so at the end I just went for Marlene Dietrich here, especially also the happy faces. I at some point will lose 2 more yellow tokens, thought the happy faces might also be very valuable for me. So I went for Marlene Dietrich here and didn't go for Bill Gates. We will see that Saru will end up being able to do some stuff with him, so maybe I should have actually denied him here. But at this point I was also just worried about the military. I guess Bill Gates, with being able to get into computers that cheaply, will also actually increase the military potential from Saru with the additional resources. So maybe I could actually consider denying him here, but maybe Saru would find some different things to be able to do. But I mean, maybe Steve Jobs with a lot of Nobel Prizes, but we don't know when Steve Jobs will be revealed, so maybe I should actually deny Bill Gates here. I didn't consider that as much as I thought, oh, we are already late in the game, I'll run away with the culture, and Saru maybe needs to push for the military, but first of all, Bill Gates is maybe some help in pushing for the military, and of course, will also help in preparing for impacts and just allow him to do potentially a lot of stuff. So, yeah, tough choice. I didn't consider him as much in the game. And I do think there are some strong arguments towards Marlene Dietrich, but it could have been an option here, certainly, to deny Bill Gates, and maybe I should have actually done it. As you can see, go for Marlene Dietrich. I still have some civil actions left. I take the revolutionary idea. Of course, you could argue I have that much science, but I still need to get into cavalrymen, into cannons, into strategy, into selective breeding, potentially into air forces if Saru is pushing for the military. So actually I still need a lot of science, and I thought the revolutionary idea is very important for me. Also maybe allows myself to go for more Nobel Prizes. Then I still have 4 civil actions left, and I decide to develop the strategy that makes it that I'm at 14 strength. It's not enough to defend myself against an aggression. I was actually quite worried that Saru maybe could push or could try out an aggression here. He has some excess military actions, but I was hoping that my colony bid of 5 maybe makes it look like I have an H2 defense card in hand and that he isn't willing to go for that aggression here. And with my remaining civil actions, of course I could spend 2 civil actions now to just upgrade a farm, but I actually felt a little bit pressured immediately with the military. Especially if there should be a military theory revealed at Saru's turn. If he has a war, he might actually be able to already go into that very quickly, especially if he maybe has actually still a fortifications tactic in hand, or maybe has drawn something like entrenchments and can use the outdated version of it. I thought it could be important to leave myself with maybe 15 or more resources, because that would allow me to build, for example, 2 cannons, 1 cavalryman, and get 2 tactics instead of only 1 with Marlene Dietrich. So I actually decided here to take famine and save myself the resources, as I thought I could get punished, and I lose 4 culture, but I have so much culture production that hopefully it's not too bad to have the famine. It's still annoying, so losing that colony certainly hurt quite a bit. And instead of developing the selective breeding, going for an upgrade, I take the air forces here. Just remove some potential from Saru. There's always the chance that the second copy will be quite late, so Saru, if I leave him the copy, could use the air forces. Maybe I need to wait for them. Now maybe he needs to wait for them, so I thought it could still make a difference having those air forces or not. And then I just developed the cannons with my last civil action, because in case we both should push, there's a chance that the freedom of movement will be revealed before my next turn, and I really want to be able to move that either into cavalrymen or cannons, and I developed the cannons because if I draw something like entrenchments or positional army, then I think I don't need a cavalryman, and the cannons I always will be able to use. I mean, for the shock troops, of course, I could use the cavalryman, but it's just the inferior tactic, so I should rather prepare for the better ones, I think, especially as there are more copies of it. So that's my turn at the end. Not ideal, maybe, that I have famine, but as said, I wanted to play it safe here and leave myself with 50 normal resources. And now, I let Bill Gates fall down to Saru. I draw the Impact of Happiness with Marlene Dietrich, that should be a good one. Saru will indeed end up going for Bill Gates, also takes the tanks, which could be an indicator that he has a tactic for them, maybe still the mobile artillery, maybe actually the mechanized army. He elects Bill Gates, who already is giving him some additional resources, and then he is able to go for the computers, goes for an upgrade, I think, with the urban growth and the Silk Road bonus, and builds a cannon, has now already 8 resource production. With the cannon is now again at 23 strength. He reveals the mechanized army tactic actually already. I guess it's difficult for me to make a transition into it, and he maybe can use his military action sufficiently. Also, as we saw, he actually didn't see it, and with that I was extremely happy that he didn't try out an aggression, but with the turn that he is going for here, he would have maybe missed out on some draws, so maybe he has actually an aggression in hand, but wasn't willing to play it because of that, and who knows, maybe also because I bluffed the defense cards here. So, yeah, he reveals the tactic, which again, I was thinking I have to be careful. He has enough resources to build 2 tanks. Revealing the tactic, of course, makes it that he has no enough military actions to declare war with 3 actions and then build 2 tanks. So I need to be prepared for that. And I think Saru didn't upgrade a computer. I think he built a new one. No, wait. No, he did upgrade one. He already built the 3rd one the turn before. Now it's my turn. I see the Impact of Happiness. I just want to start getting some impacts in, as there might not be that many politics phases left. There's a terrorism revealed, which is not ideal to see. This turn I don't want to have famine any longer, so I upgrade 1 farm to selective breeding. I could even go for another upgrade, but it would again take 2 turns until I get a new population, so for now I just wanted to fix my famine, because again I also need to be a bit careful about leaving myself with enough resources, and I, instead of going for the 2nd farm upgrade, thought that maybe it is actually more beneficial for me to upgrade another printing press to opera with Bach, going for 4th opera. I first of all take the reserves, the military build-up, making sure that I have a lot of resources for the military available. Then, as said, I upgraded printing press to opera, getting out of corruption, not going for that upgrade, but going up to 25 culture production. Thanks to the Acropolis, I'm able to have a 4th opera. And then with my last civil action, I think I maybe just played a revolutionary idea. So I secure myself some yellow cards. I could have gone for a 2nd upgrade, but I think again it could have made some difference. Also, it could be beneficial to maybe still destroy this farm and put it into the military and just stay on 1 farm. So instead of accumulating some food and get 1 more population out, maybe I can just also destroy this farm and be somewhat fine with my famine staying just on 1 farm, which of course hurts for some impacts, but it still saves me those 4 resources, so I felt I don't really need to go for the 2nd farm upgrade here. Instead I played a revolutionary idea. I have some resource saved up, so I felt relatively safe. But upgrading the printing press to the opera is the disadvantage that I'm now actually missing 1 tiny bit of science to go for both cavalrymen and air forces at the next turn. But with having that many resources saved up, if I have entrenchments or positional army, I think Saru would just lose the war by quite a bit. So I was hoping that he will not be willing to declare a war here. Again, I'm vulnerable to an aggression potentially, so that felt a bit bad, but I wasn't willing to destroy anything yet to build another unit. I again don't draw any defense cards, there could be an aggression happening. I was extremely happy to see the modern army tactic here. With that I thought I should be relatively safe from any wars. I have the air forces, I have all the technologies that I need, I have this tactic, I have Marlene, so I was hoping that with that I should be quite safe, and with that I was actually quite confident. I, as you can see, have now already quite a culture lead, and if Saru tries something with the military, I have now the perfect response for it. But I am not able to defend against an aggression, so I was hoping that Saru won't try one, and I was happy to see that he and seeds an impact instead. The freedom of movement is revealed. He will actually use it to put a bronze mine into another computer's, upgrades another lab to computers, has now already 16 science production, 12 resource production, so Bill Gates is providing him already quite some value. He takes the reserves, develops the tanks, builds a tank, gets up to 37 strength here, takes the United Nations. Taking the United Nations, I think, could be a bit of an indicator that Saru has no war yet. Because if he has a war, maybe it could be best for him to go all in. Maybe he could have even taken the military theory then. Maybe he just hopes to get air forces and then tries to go for war. Maybe hoping that I don't have a fitting tactic to work with. Him being willing to spend those actions in the United Nations, I felt could be an indicator that he has no war, but maybe he has the ability to actually do both. But if he really plans on going for a war, I thought he might have want to take the military theory or at least the patriotism. Now he leaves both of those cards available for me. He doesn't take any card from the row, which could help him maybe prolonging the game by a little bit, which with having Bill Gates could be quite beneficial for him. And he's actually disbanding a warrior, maybe using the free military action that he's having, which could be quite clever. Now it is my turn. Do I see it? I actually see the Cold War here, which seems a bit odd because Saru is the stronger one. But all of those impacts are not looking ideal for me. I get 2 culture for seeding, I don't get stronger anyway. And I thought that Saru has so much science that very, very likely, if the Cold War is revealed still, which is could also happen that it just isn't revealed, but even if it is revealed, I do think he has more than enough science anyway, so I didn't think the 6 science room would make a difference, but the 2 culture for me could make a difference, and also, additionally, it could make a difference whether the impact of happiness is revealed a bit quicker. There's still 1 H2 event left, but Saru maybe could have some other stuff to do than fixing his happy faces completely. So if I make sure that the event deck is now moving forward quickly, I thought there's a chance that I hit him with quite a bad impact of happiness. So I was willing to push here, but wasn't willing to commit to any of those impacts. And the last H2 event is actually an economic progress. And that of course makes Bill Gates even stronger. If I would have had knowledge about this economic progress, I think I would have certainly denied him. Or maybe I would have not really considered it, but if I think with that, if I would have knowledge about it, I should have denied him, maybe even without it, but yeah, now he has lots of resources saved up. And this turn, I think I might end up doing a bit of a mistake, and maybe that is a situation where I played more by feelings than by calculations, and I think my feelings led me maybe into the wrong direction here. I first of all will start my turn by developing the cavalryman, just making sure that I have the technology, not that Saru can maybe declare war on anti-H or something, so I build a cavalryman. I reveal the modern army tactic that already makes sure that I'm not in danger of an aggression. I then, for the last time, will use Bach to upgrade an urban building, which I think I have done a total of 4 times now. I have upgraded both labs and both printing presses to Opera. 1 Opera got destroyed because of the terrorism at Saru's turn, so I can rebuild one, and now I'm back at 24 culture production. I will then, as you can see, first of all, take the democracy away. And I do think taking the democracy is maybe the correct call. It's just an extremely strong technology. I can go for 5th Opera, and in case Saru tries to do something peaceful, which he might do with having gone for the United Nations, then I just maybe lock down that door with the democracy. I might just be able to go for that much culture production that it could be very difficult for Saru to catch up peacefully. The thing is here that I maybe underestimated Saru's military potential, and here I maybe should have done some more calculations, because I played a bit more by feeling, and I just felt like I have modern army, I have air forces, I have Marlene Dietrich, I have this military build-up, I have 6 military actions. I might have to destroy a lot, but I just thought with that I should just be quite safe. And with that thinking, I think I do end up doing a mistake here. And that mistake is letting the military theory be available for Saru. Saru has now a lot of resources, and with the additional military actions, he maybe without necessarily needing to do too much of a commitment, can potentially be quite threatening the turn after, which I will end up realizing, because he will end up having enough resources to actually not only go for 2 armies with 2 air forces, but go for a 3rd army. Not with a 3rd air force, but still, if he builds up all of this, gets a total of 50 out of his tactic, while if I go for 2 modern army tactics and going for more than that with air forces, and going for more than that will be a bit difficult for me, I only have 2 more, 52. So I get more out of the tactic, but the thing is, if I let Saru have the military theory, he has the military theory, he has the fundamentalism, he has the navigation. I only have the strategy and the Acropolis, so, and he has some tanks and air forces, so he has more H3 units than I have H3 units. I will only have the 2 air forces, so he just has quite some big strength potential actually, and I was a bit lazy, didn't check that exactly. I knew that I have to be careful, but I just thought I should be safe with the modern army tactic plus air forces, but here's a situation where I maybe played it a bit quickly, maybe should have done some more calculations, and I think I should deny the military theory here. Then I basically shut down 2 options. I take the democracy away, with that make it more difficult for Saru to compete peacefully, especially because he is not in a position to easily take the fast food chains. He can take them, I think, because actually only if those are available in the 2 civil action area, because he needs 1 civil action to finish the United Nations, and then he has 5 left, so very likely he doesn't have the ability to take the last remaining wonder. And if I take the military theory, he loses a lot of his military threat, and then I might just be able to deny the fast food chains, and with having the democracy, I should be nicely prepared to win both peacefully, and I take a strong wave away from him to build some military. So I think I should have just taken the military theory here. Instead, I end up taking the efficient upgrade, elected Marlene Dietrich. Bach is still giving me 2 more culture, but one of those 2 cards is the impact of happiness, and maybe there's a chance that the age could end before my next turn, so I think it's the right choice to elect her. I then take the patriotism, so I actually take a card that helps me with the military, but the military theory would just deny some strength and especially the military actions from Saru, and I think that might be very important. Not only that, it's also useful for some impact. Saru could have the impact of progress, he might get the civil service now, he could make an impact of progress quite big. I have the impact of government in hand, which I can make now less big for Saru and make it that it is a seedable impact for me. And it has even another argument. With taking the military theory, I take another card from the row, meaning there's only 5 left on Saru's turn, making it quite difficult for him to not end the age. Because especially if he has the right impacts, maybe he wants to go for civil service, but if he takes that, he can already not take any other card, so I limit his options a bit if he wants to prolong the game, which is maybe in his interest. So I think I just underestimated the strength potential here. I didn't do the calculations, and with that I did not take the military theory away. But even if I would not be a threat, just the reason that I take another card from the row and remove that for some impacts already could be enough to take it away. So I think here I probably made a mistake. I have a bit of corruption, but it's not too bad. I draw the impact of population, which is not great, so I sadly don't have the greatest impacts to seed, but there are also not that many. Impact of culture would be nice, maybe some others, but most impacts are quite good for Saru. Very, very luckily for me, though, it indeed happens that the impact of happiness is revealed quite early. And actually there was now already the H3 event, so that's why I really wanted to push the Cold War at the last turn. And impact of happiness is revealed, and I get plus 14 against Saru. And with that, I felt quite confident that the differences are now maybe just getting too big. However, at that point I was also still thinking that I am safe from the military, and that somewhat changed at this turn, because I did not take the military theory away. Saru is now able to take 2 cards from the row without ending the age, scores Nobel Prize, has a very big impact of progress now. Impact of government is not really a seedable impact for me now. He goes for 1 more upgrade, takes 2 more technology cards, maybe to score another Nobel Prize, builds a tank, uses the ocean liner service, and just builds another tank, going up to 61 strength, threatening an aggression, but not only that, After his turn, he's at 19 resources. He can play the reserves with the Silk Road bonus, which actually makes quite a difference here. And then he has 24 resources, which is just enough to build 2 cannons and 2 air forces. And then he's just enough resources, as said, to go for 3 armies plus 2 air forces. And with that, I'm actually not able to defend this. At least when I want to go for a somewhat reasonable turn. It's already a little bit a while ago, that game, but I think I couldn't really find a good solution to defend against a potential war. So now it is my turn. And yeah, this turn was now a bit tricky. I out of the sudden was very afraid of the war potential from Saru. My first instinct, before I realized how threatening Saru actually is, because he can go for 3 more tactics, 2 air forces, 2 cannons, so he can go for more than 100. Before I checked it exactly, and maybe I should actually still do it, but before I checked it, I thought I will just deny the fast food chains and then just leave all of my resources prepared for the military and I should be safe. Then I realized that going for 2 modern army tactics with air forces is actually not enough to be safe, and that Saru could even win the war by quite a bit of strength, because I think I was in the 90s and he is quite a bit above 100. And with that, my plans changed. Because I then was thinking, first of all, Saru had a lot of draws, and I thought he very likely has the war by now. So he very likely will go for a war, and if I spend a lot of civil actions for the fast food chains, I deny him this option, but he might just go for a war anyway. And so I ended up not denying the fast food chains, because after that big impact of happiness hit, I just thought winning the game peacefully is maybe a bit difficult for Saru anyway, and maybe going for the fast food chains won't be enough for him. Also, another reason to deny the military theory is to let the points for the United Nations be less big. Something that I just realized, because without having that, he would only have 3 different blue techs and also has only 3 wonders, can't easily go for 4 urban buildings, so I might also make the United Nations 4 points less big. Anyway, instead of taking the fast food chains at this turn, I first of all upgrade 1 farm so that I at least get 1 more population out, which I thought could be quite helpful, because I now expected that I need to defend myself for a war, and I need to destroy a lot of stuff if I need to do this, and then just getting 1 more population instead of having to destroy 1 thing could be quite important. It also frees up hand space. And then yeah, as said, I consider the fast food chains and doing just a little bit of stuff, but I now, instead of going for the fast food chains, prepared for a turn that in case of a war will be just better for me. I will first of all get more strength in an easier way, and I also am nicely prepared to go for a Nobel Prize and at least score a bit of culture like this in addition to getting more strength. And so I prepared better for the military. I destroy some farms already. I need to spend some actions already to do all of this, because I am somewhat limited by my actions. I can't just leave everything intact and then just play all of the yellow cards and destroy all of the things at the next turn. I have to do some of those actions already now. I then play the reserves for resources also just to spend the action already, and I then take the rockets and the revolutionary idea, which makes it that at the next turn, with playing the revolutionary idea, I will be able to develop both air forces and rockets, and I will be able to upgrade those cannons to rockets. So I the next turn can play the military. I will be at 15 resources plus 8 from the military buildup, so I have 23 resources. I can play all of those 4 cards: air forces, rockets, revolutionary idea, and military buildup. I can then destroy 3 things. Or I increasing my population once, destroying a mine and a farm. I don't have famine like that. Build 2 air forces, build an additional rocket, and upgrade 1 cannon to rocket. That just gives me more strength potential than when I would not have the rockets, and I would score a Nobel Prize like that. So I thought with that I may be as good prepared for the military as I can be, and while Saru can still pull off a successful war, I at least make it, I at least have this big culture lead, and was hoping that the war won't be big enough for him to win the game. And if he doesn't go for a war, I was hoping that United Nations plus fast food chains could still just be not enough for him to catch up, because I have the democracy. If I don't get hit by a war, I, with the revolutionary idea, can go for democracy in rockets, score a Nobel Prize, build a fifth opera, get up to 30 culture production or something like that, and then score one last time a very big amount of culture. I was now hoping, of course, that I might draw a seedable impact. And sadly not, so I might have to see whether I can work with those that I'm having. Now, of course, I was interested to see, will there be a war? I somewhat expected a war. H4 starts, but saru seeds actually. So he doesn't go for the war. After the game, he actually mentioned that he didn't have access to a war, so he just threatened his strength. But threatening the strength, which was possible thanks to me leaving him the military theory, because building 2 cannons and 2 air forces plus declaring a war would not have been possible for him if I would have taken the military theory away. So, but with me leaving that card and with him going for that play, he threatened a lot of strength, which at the end let me leave the fast food chains available for him. He seeds, the impact of wonders is revealed, which I was very happy to see. It's this impact that was seeded by him, but I actually get +5 against him. So that was a surprise by me, and I was extremely happy to see it. He then finishes the United Nations for 16 points because of the military theory. And he has the impact of science, so he gets +10 this turn. At the next turn, he will be able to seed the impact of science. And then he takes the fast food chains, builds an organized religion, gives him +1 culture production, and takes the reserves. Nonetheless, he is at 129 culture, I'm at 180, and I will get one more very big production. He gets the fast food chains, but his fast food chains plus his culture production is actually very similar to just my culture production. Then, of course, he gets the Bill Gates bonus, so I still have a very big lead. Nonetheless, I started to worry a little bit because I started checking the impacts, and there are some that could really score him a lot of points. And the most prominent one would be the impact of technology. And one big question during my last turn was actually if I should deny these copies of movies from him. He can't take the computers because he has them already, but he could take the movies at his next turn. And that was one question that I needed to answer during my turn. I first of all see the impact of variety. I will build a printing press and a religion here, and will make the impact of variety relatively big. And with that, it is at least a seedable impact. Now the Cold War is revealed that I've seeded, but saru has more than enough science, so it doesn't really do anything for him. I can this turn develop the democracy, develop the rockets, scoring a Nobel Prize. And then at the end of my turn, it will be the big question if I should increase my population or if I should disband another thing to give me the action to take the movies. I started the turn now by disbanding some units so that you can maybe see what the difference would be exactly. I disband a rifleman, build first of all the fifth opera. I disband another rifleman, build a printing press. I disband another rifleman, building a religion. And then I still have 2 actions left. And now I could just disband another thing, for example the cannons, and build one more thing. And then I would have 1 civil action left to deny the movies. Or I could let saru have the movies, make it that I don't have to disband another thing. And I could increase my I can increase my population then. As you can see, I went for increasing my population. First of all, I counted the culture. And even if saru doesn't get the movies, the impact of technology is extremely big. And I know that he has the impact of science, and he has some more impact seeded. And if the impact of technology is in there, I checked the other impacts, I thought it is actually quite likely that he has good chances to win this game, even if I deny the movies. So I came to the conclusion that maybe I'm actually, which was a bit surprising for me, in a position where I need to hope that he doesn't have that impact in order to still have good chances to win the game. I mean, I could hope, if he has the impact of technology, I could still hope that he has some neutral impacts, but there are just a lot of impacts that are very good for him, which is of course a big advantage of having Bill Gates. And maybe I should deny the movies here, but now that I didn't deny the movies, I keep a cannon and I upgrade a cannon to rocket. As you can see, I dropped quite a bit in strength, so I am now vulnerable to an aggression from Saru. The thing is, of course, I know that Saru has the impact of science in hand. Seeding that, plus getting the culture from the impact, is 13 culture for Saru. If he has an armed intervention, that is only 1 culture more. So I think it's not that important here to leave myself safe from, to make it that I'm safe from an aggression. It is, of course, the case, though, that if I maybe would have played the turn differently, kept more strength so that with the 3 defense cards I can defend myself, then Saru needs to push the impact of science, which is only very slightly less good in terms of culture than the armed intervention, but what it does is that he reveals an impact, and some impacts would get improved quite a bit during his turn, especially in impact of technology, especially now that I don't take the movies. I mean, if I don't destroy as much, I can't build as much, then I have probably the free civil action anyway, but I do think it's certainly a consideration here to maybe leave myself safe from an aggression so that Saru has to see the impact of science. However, by not deleting another cannon and now upgrading this cannon to rockets, I have now exactly the amount of strength so that it is actually potentially possible that I could have 5 defense cards in hand and defend against an aggression. So I was thinking maybe Saru is a little bit afraid of that possibility. Maybe he rather wants to get the safe impact of science. But of course, if he has knowledge that there is an impact that he improves quite a bit during his last turn, maybe he just is willing to take that very small risk of me having 5 defense cards. So maybe that is actually not that important. Keeping another unit also doesn't help me for the impact of harmony. The impact of competition is now a bit better, and that could be an impact that Saru could have seeded. I have now more points in that. That was the main reason why at the end increased my population, as well as because I thought that if I go for if Saru has the impact of technology, it might actually be looking good for him anyway, and I need to hope that maybe he doesn't have the impact. So quite a difficult last turn. Also, as you can see, I built a printing press instead of a lab. The lab would give me +2 for the impact of variety, but the printing press gives me 1 culture production, +1 for the impact of architecture, and I can upgrade this cannon to rockets, so also +1 for competition, and I don't reveal an impact, but I guess Saru, I mean, he won't disband a warrior, so I guess he can't improve that anyway. So maybe I should have actually built a lab here, I'm not sure, maybe. I don't remember exactly why, but maybe because I somehow thought me being 30 strength behind could maybe lead Saru towards ceding the impact instead of playing an armed intervention. So I somehow valued that 30 strength difference and me potentially being able to defend with 5 defense cards somewhat highly, maybe a bit too highly. Maybe if Saru has an armed intervention, he will try it anyway, because it's very unlikely that I have 5 defense cards. So now, I am vulnerable to an aggression. I didn't take the movies away, so that I was able to increase my population. And now, let's see what Saru will do. And he is trying the armed intervention. At least it means that the impact of science stays in his hand. He's going for the mechanized agriculture, the multimedia. Now it will be very interesting to see, will he go for the movies? Because that basically reveals already if there is the impact of tech or not. And you can see that he goes for the movies, so likely the impact of tech is in there, unless maybe he didn't have anything else to do with the actions anyway. He scores Nobel Prize, plays the reserves, builds a religion, builds a warrior, just builds some more stuff for the fast food chains, finishes the fast food chains for 25 points. And then he ends his turn, and we can take a look at the culture before the final impacts. And I actually still have a 41 culture lead, but Saru will get a 12 Bill Gates bonus. And with that, I basically only have a 29 culture lead. The impact of variety that I have seeded is basically neutral. So Saru needs to catch up 29 points, or 30 of course if he wants to win, with his 3 impacts. And if there's the impact of technology in there, then that impact alone covers already something of that. So now, with him developing the movies, I was quite worried that maybe Saru could actually be able to pull off quite a nice comeback here. The first impact is the impact of progress. That's sadly an impact that also is giving him +8. Again, I maybe should have denied the military theory. It gives him +4 for the United Nations. It allowed him to threaten all of that strength. Now he gets +6 for the impact of progress. There's the impact of architecture, so the printing press helped a little bit for that. It's not the biggest impact. But then there's the impact of technology, and that's an impact that gives +20, that gives +24 to Saru, so an extremely big one. He's only 5 culture behind. Now there's my impact, the impact of variety, which gives both of us +18. And at the moment I'm still in the lead, but of course there will be the Bill Gates bonus, and with that Saru at the end is actually able to overtake me and win that game at the end. And I think quite a nice comeback by Saru. And he just showed that Bill Gates can just do a lot of stuff, even if he's not very, very early. But he had those urban growths in hand to go for those upgrades extremely cheaply. And there was the economic progress, and he managed maybe to prolong the game a little bit, which I also made a bit easier by not taking the military theory. And then he didn't have a war, but with going for those 2 wonders and with having a bunch of strong impacts, he at the end manages to win the game, actually despite getting hit by that very, very big impact of happiness. After I saw that revealed, I really thought, that might just be a bit too much. Now my culture lead is maybe just too big, and Saru will be challenging for him to come back, but he definitely has shown that with Bill Gates you can just do some really strong stuff. I think maybe I should have just taken Bill Gates away. I didn't, of course, have knowledge about the economic progress. That was just one big additional production, which I think made Bill Gates even stronger. And Marlene Dietrich is just an extremely useful leader for me, so I still think it was fine to maybe pass on Bill Gates. I think the bigger mistake at the end was to not take the military theory, instead take the efficient upgrade and the patriotism. Of course, the patriotism helped me a little bit at the end. I certainly could use a lot of resources, but without the military theory, Saru can't threaten as much strength, and if he can't threaten that much strength, I can maybe just deny the fast food chains, and then I think the door is really probably shut down, that he can come back peacefully. Maybe he draws in a war, but without a military theory, can't go for it. So at that point, I was just a little bit blinded by me having modern army plus air forces. Usually that is just enough to get enough strength to be safe from anything. But in this case, Saru was able to threaten even more. Because of that, I felt like he will very likely go for a war. He didn't actually have a war. And with that, I didn't deny the fast food chains, thinking that maybe my lead is actually too big for him to catch up peacefully, but I was already thinking he might still have some chances, but I just felt if I go for the fast food chains and then have an inferior turn if he goes for a war, and I kind of thought he will go for a war, then I could just have a lot bigger chances if I go for that Nobel Prize plus rockets turn, which is not really possible to achieve for me if I take the fast food chains. So that was felt a little bit. The last turns felt a little bit weird to play. But I should have taken a military theory, especially also with the United Nations. That's something that I completely missed out on. There's the impact of progress. I had the impact of government in hand. There were just so many good reasons to take that card, but I went for efficient upgrade and patriotism instead. Also, one thing that I'm not sure if it was correct was to take the coal for 3. That was somewhat expensive. I do think that could be justifiable with him having those yellow cards, but as we saw at the end, he managed to build up something successful anyway. But I think overall that was just an extremely interesting game, already with that Moses play from me at the beginning of the game, some very interesting moments with card row considerations, and then some back and forth between war and catching up peacefully at the end, a very nice comeback by Saru. and so I think is a very interesting game to show. Congratulations to Saru. And yeah, also one thing that I forgot to mention at the beginning, if you want to see more Royal League games, then you should certainly check out Daniel's YouTube channel, which you can find linked in the description of this video, because he actually covered a lot of his games, maybe even all of his games from the tournament. So there are certainly some very high-level two-player games played, and some other ones that I've played were also very interesting. And maybe I will show one more. It also maybe will depend a little bit on what my Patreons vote for, because showing an additional Royal League game is one of the options, and I think 1 or 2 supporters haven't voted yet. The vote is quite close at the moment, so if you haven't voted yet, then don't forget to vote. So maybe we will see another game, but yeah, it won't show a lot of games of the season, and soon the World Championship will be starting. The Intermezzo Championship has just started, so I will rather focus on those tournaments. Alright, with that we are at the end of the video. I hope you enjoyed seeing the two-player game against Saru. Leave me some feedback if you think there's another crucial mistake that I maybe have done during the game. And yeah, then I say thanks for watching, have a nice time, and see you in the next video.